If you've been feeling scattered, mentally restless, or like your words and your life don't really seem to match up, this week is your chance at recalibration. There are weeks that whisper, and there are those that demand that you listen. And this is the latter. The first week of December brings a convergence of energies that are going to have us chatting, bringing conversations that have been circling to a point, surfacing hidden truths, and revolutionizing the way we communicate, both with ourselves and with other people. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel where we don't just let the cosmic weather happen to us, but we collaborate with it. We let the planets sharpen our clarity, guide our conversations, and show us exactly where our next level up is. So settle in, pour yourself something warm, and let's step into the coming week, because by the end of the week, you will know exactly what to say, how to say it, and maybe not have absolute clarity, but something that comes pretty close to it. So we are pretty firmly established in Sagittarius season now. And I'm wondering, how did this shift from Scorpio into Sagittarius pan out for you? You know, the funny thing is, I always record these videos a little bit in advance, obviously. And while we can kind of tell how the energy is going to shift, it is way too early to feel that. So on Saturday, when the sun moved into Sagittarius, which is all about adventure, exploration, you know, outdoor sports and travel, I went for a walk to this park that I'd been to many, many times before. It's a bit of a boring walk, to be honest with you. But on Saturday, all of a sudden, where there used to be a fence, I swear there used to be a fence there, all of a sudden, a new path opened. A new adventurous path that took us round the edge of a cliff. We were literally rock climbing at one point. And I mean, how symbolic is that of Sagittarius season? A new path opens all of a sudden where there wasn't a path before. You're rock climbing up and down this cliff to go on new adventures and experience new things. Honestly, I could not have written that. It was picture book, hello, this is Sagittarius season, I'm here. So yeah, I'm wondering how that transition was for you. It was certainly poignant for me. So now let's move on to the week ahead. On Tuesday, we have Mars, the planet of will, of drive, of ego, meeting with Juno, the asteroid of commitment, in hopeful, expansive, optimistic Sagittarius. This is a textbook put a ring on it moment. Not only will you have to ask yourself, what are you ready to commit to? Whether that be a person or a commitment that you're making to yourself, or maybe a business commitment, or some kind of lifestyle commitment like signing a lease, buying a home, etc., etc. But Mars is really going to stoke that fire to take action on that commitment. Now, Sagittarius energy is known to be quite impulsive, and we do want to embrace that. We do want to lead into that on Tuesday. Maybe, you know, don't immediately go and get married on that day spontaneously, because you may not have had the chance to think things through properly. Sagittarius is very much an act before you think sign, especially with Mars involved in this constellation. But this is where you make the plan. This is where you get that clarity on, okay, this is something that I want in my life. This is something that I want to keep and treasure and commit to. And if you still feel the same way at the end of the week, then that's a pretty good sign that you're onto something good there and you want to hold on to it. And here's something that makes this even more powerful and even more beautiful, because on the same day we have Venus, also in Sagittarius, sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. And this gives you this magnetic power to attract things to you that are in line with your highest evolution, which is just yet another green light to go for the things that you feel strongly about, that you want to take action on and around that day. The following day, on Wednesday, Venus then moves on to Trine Ceres, the nurturer. This is a harmonious aspect that allows us to see how we can care for ourselves and also for those around us that matter to us. This is where we are able to expand without exhaustion, where we are able to take a leap and be adventurous without later regretting it and having to pick up the pieces. Thursday, December the 4th, the moon moves into Gemini, and this is our preparation for the full moon ahead. This is where our minds might be getting quite active, quite buzzy, quite agile. A lot of thoughts might suddenly start swirling around in your head. If that's the case, try not to resist that, because that tends to make it a lot worse, but to channel it into something. Brainstorming, journaling, taking voice notes on your phone, having a really good old natter with a good friend. This mental energy needs to have something to flow into. If you try to hold it in, then it's just going to eventually pop out in some kind of explosive and unexpected manner, which you do better avoiding. And finally, Friday, the 5th of December, the week's crescendo, the full moon in Gemini. The moment everything else in this week has been building towards. Full moons illuminate, they reveal, and they complete cycles. And in Gemini, the full moon reveals exactly where your communication might have been off, whether that's communication with yourself, or even more importantly with Gemini, communication with others. Where have you been saying things that aren't really aligned with your authenticity? Where have you been trying to create a persona and craft an image of yourself that just isn't authentic or true? Either because you didn't want to offend anyone, or because you're scared of being judged, or because you just don't want to be stepping on people's toes. There's all sorts of reasons why we do this. We all do this. But the full moon is going to make that very clear. And the clue to that is also in a T-square that is happening between the full moon, well, the sun and the moon, and the North Node in Pisces. So this is really going to illuminate anything where the way we've been thinking and the way we've been talking to other people and communicating does not align with our soul path, with our destiny, so to speak, with our purpose. There is a tension there, an active tension, and especially if you have your sun or your moon in Sagittarius or Gemini, then you are particularly going to feel that. On the same day, Mars in Sagittarius also trines Chiron in Aries, so it promises us a healing that comes from these insights and any situations that arise around these topics. But the healing can only happen if we take action on it. This is not an internal introspective healing. Like the new moon that we had last was a very introspective, introverted lunation. This one is extroverted. This one wants to talk. This one wants to communicate. Gemini and Sagittarius are both very extroverted signs. So we want to think things through, and then we want, or maybe talk things through, which can help us think things through, and then take action. What greater way to take action, even if it's in a symbolic way, than with a full moon ritual. If you'd like a suggestion for a full moon ritual, I do share these as well as some very helpful and useful journaling prompts in my completely free newsletter called Manifestology, which helps you use astrological cycles to manifest your best life ever. I will put the link in the description bar below where you can sign up. Again, it's totally free. It's a labor of love that I pour my heart in. So if you'd like some practical guidance on what you can do on the full moon, do sign up. You'll find a lot more information there. And then after the intensity of Friday, the weekend offers us some recovery, integration, and support. On Saturday, Mercury, still in deep intuitive Scorpio, harmonizes with Jupiter in nourishing, comforting Cancer. This is wisdom emerging from the depths. Any insights that you gained during the full moon, Saturday helps you to integrate them and understand them on an emotional and practical level. We have this grand water trine forming once again, this time with Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. The trine between Mercury and Saturn is going to become exact on Sunday, which is our chance to use those insights that we now understand on a much deeper level and turn them into something practical, turn them into something stable, and turn them into something lasting. On Sunday, the Sun also sextiles Pallas, so this gives us that edge to use these insights, use these things that we're ready to commit to now, and make an action plan, essentially. Strategize, find a strategy for how we're going to implement these changes that we're willing to make to our life. Even if they're just tiny little tweaks. You know, when we speak about changes, they don't all have to be dramatic and life-altering. Sometimes they can just be these little tweaks that make life so much better over the long term. So by Sunday evening, you're not just aware, you are activated, you have a plan in place, you've got action following through on what you have gained and learned throughout the whole week. So let's bring it all together. This week is not one for hesitation, it's one for honest, open, courageous communication. Your words have power, your truth has weight, and this week both of them are amplified. So here's your homework for the week ahead to make the most out of the week. First of all, journal on the full moon. Whether you're using my journaling prompts from the newsletter, or you're using your others, or you're just letting your thoughts free flow on the paper, do some journaling, because what happens on the full moon is going to guide you for the months ahead. Secondly, have one brave conversation, whether it's a text, a call, meeting up in person, whatever feels right to you. But I really encourage you to do it next week. Because here's the thing, Mercury is still in Scorpio in this coming week. Once Mercury moves back into Sagittarius, you know, Mercury in Sagittarius is great at telling story. It's incredibly sociable and likable and really entertaining. But it can be quite blunt. It's not the best for these raw, emotional, unfiltered conversations that are going to benefit you next week. Mercury in Scorpio is a lot better at feeling into the other person, at crafting your communication so that it lands exactly how it's supposed to land. So make the most of that, because if you wait until Mercury is in Sagittarius, there will be some added challenges in that conversation. Let's put it that way. There will be some more difficulty that's just not necessary to have. And then by Sunday, create one structure that's going to help you make those little tweaks, or maybe it is some kind of big monumental life change. Whatever it may be, create some structure around it, create some commitment and some accountability around it. And if this video resonated, save it, like it, and share it with someone who may need a little bit of a nudge to speak their truth. I'd love it if you left me a comment down below to let me know what is one thing that you're ready to say right now. Because inside this circle, we don't just survive the cosmic intensity, we use it to transform and to become. So I'll see you next week, where we'll continue building the life that you might have never thought was even possible for you. Until then, make sure you speak softly but surely.